Would you call it a double date since there were 2 men?
So
So Esther's doing the thing.
On to chapter 5. Yeah, Esther's doing the thing. The going before the throne, might get killed. Part of me is thinking, like, if I were in the shoes of the king at this point, like Esther shows up, I feel like it's almost a default. It's like, that's my queen. Yeah, we're not killing her. Like, it's like it's gonna.
Yeah.
Like in his mind, since he has no idea what's going on, he might just be kind of like, hey, it's Esther. Heck yeah. What you want, babe? You know, like that's just his approach to it.
He was a fan of her.
Yes. Yeah, and so she sets up this banquet of 3 people. Did your cup make a noise?
For some reason, I felt like going like I just wanted to.
It's probably that straw. I'm like, it's that giant straw. Now would be a good time.
I just felt like it. My bad.
Oh goodness! Now would be a good time to receive our grace, Nick. Because we're not supposed to be using these cups.
Do I get a grace for that?
Both of us do.
Yeah, we get both of the cups.
But
I get a grace for the bubble.
Anyway, she makes the
feast.
The feast, banquet, whatever word your Bible uses. She plans that, and it's going to be just her, the king, and Haman. Nice little party. And then Haman, I think in chapter 5, he also sets up the gallows. Like he goes out there and he looks at Mordecai, and Mordecai has like, I don't think it says he had like a grin or anything, but just he doesn't look worried anymore. Yeah, and that kind of set Haman off.
Yeah.
Which again, it's funny because that's the thing that's going to get him in the end.
Well, one thing I thought I thought was interesting about that whole thing was that it was actually his wife's idea to set up the gallows for Mordecai.
That's so bad.
Which we could go into a whole discussion on women and men and marriage and all that.
Another video.
Which we will not go into. But just seeing how his wife could have gone 2 ways. Like her husband comes home from work one day and it's like, oh, there's things in this guy Mordecai is just the worst. And she could have taken 2 approaches. She could have like calmed him down and been like, oh, I'm sorry, that sucks. We can move on from this. But instead she was like,
let's kill him.
That's the worst. He's the worst. We need to build this gallows that is 50 cubits high, and then we'll hang Mordecai on it. And Haman's like, that's such a great idea, which ultimately is the way that Haman dies on his own gallows.
Yeah.
And just seeing how, as a wife, we can have 2 ways of like supporting our husband.
And lots of influence.
Yeah, lots of influence. Have you seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding?
No.
I think I've seen part of it.
She's like, your father, he's the head, but I'm the neck.
That's awesome.
Like, yes.
It's the same thing happening. So after he sets that up, we get to I think my favorite part. The king can't sleep. So what does he do? He goes and looks at like history books. He's like, I can't sleep. Nice. He asks the guy or whatever servant was in there. He's like, hey, hand me that book. He's looking through it, and then he happens to find Mordecai. He's like, this guy.
Just so happens.
And it's like 3 a.m. He's like, this guy, have we blessed him yet? And it's just like, no. Who is he? He's like, Mordecai. Like he's reading his name for the first time. Like, Mordecai. Who's this? Like, just,
or he's having this guy read it to him.
Yeah, interesting. Well, we need to give him something, like he doesn't care anymore. It's like, got that robe, doesn't fit me anymore. Give it to him, and then carry him around on the horse, and just for fun. Why not? To honor him, and then.
Well, the funny part about that is it was Haman's idea
to do that.
Yeah, so
because he didn't say who it was.
Yeah,
Haman's
so
like, you must honor this man.
Yeah, later. It
so he's like, what would you?
Yeah.
How would you honor a man? And Haman's like, oh, he's talking about me. So he's
right.
like, give him this robe, carry him around.
That was the servant that like executed that because he saw it. I think if I got my events right, he saw it in the book and he's like, we need to do something about this. Who's out there? And then Haman was the one hanging out. And he calls Haman in. Yeah.
And so
just to get
Haman
the
is
story
the one
straight.
who actually parades him
How
around.
ironic.
Which, what are the odds of that?
God's humor's funny sometimes.
I laughed so hard when I
hilarious.
reread that.
I wonder how he felt.
I
Like
know.
he's the one like on the chariot or whatever they use. He's on like the cart, like
Yeah.
and he's just like a space. Just, like,
I imagine this classic cartoon, like
Yeah.
red faces,
Right.
smoke coming out of his ears. Like, come on.
Well, then it says he hurried to his house mourning with his head covered.
oh great!
Oh,
now
Afterwards.
he's crying on the way home.
Yeah.
Walk of shame.
To go meet with his murderous wife.
Yeah. And then it says his wise men and his wife said to him, like,
We need to do this.
we need to get rid of him.
We need to expedite the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, and then we have the banquet
Why did
or
it
the
take
copyright screen, whichever one.
Why did it take 2 banquets?
Okay, so I think what it was is the first meeting with the king. That was like getting permission just to do it,
Just to butter him up?
The second one was like, okay, now can we actually go set it up
Yeah,
today?
okay.
So I don't think there were 2 banquets. I think there was just one.
I think there were 2.
Really?
Actually, because
Okay, I know.
I wasn't clear on this. So
yeah, I think there were multiple, so
gonna go
2
back.
banquets, and the reason I think she did that was because if she had done it the first time, like I literally think she was buttering them up.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so
That
the
makes
first
sense.
one,
Yeah.
if she had just done the first banquet and then been like, "Oh, we should kill Haman," it could have been like, "Oh, that's kind of weird." But it was
Yeah.
the fact that she was like honoring him, doing it again, and getting on the king's good side,
Yeah.
essentially, to be able to fall at his feet and be like, "But
Yeah.
our
It's like
people."
creating the
Yeah.
trust that
Yeah.
she needed in order for the king to, even though he's very easy to be manipulated.
Yeah.
She could still like do that and it not seem super weird. Like, oh yeah, here's food.
Yeah.
By the way, do this.
And to be in a place of I'm honoring you in this, like I'm not trying to take liberties, unlike some people, Haman, and everybody else in the story.
Because chapter 5 just says plans for mine. Like plans a banquet, and then at the end, like before we get to Haman building the gallows, I think it's verse 8. If I have found favor in the sight of my king, and if it pleases the king to grant my petition and do what I request, may the king and Haman come to the banquet which I will prepare for them, and tomorrow I'll do as the king says. So that's why I think there might just be one. I don't know. They could have. Who knows? They could have had like 10 in between this. Everybody's just hanging out, partying.
Yeah.
But then in verse 5 it says,
Let me go back to 5.
so the king and Haman came to the feast that Esther had prepared. And
And
then
then-
she says,
Yeah.
let's do it again.
Okay, yeah.
First date went so well, let's
there
go
you
again, you know?
Yeah.
Would you call it a double date since there were 2 men?
One of
No,
them didn't have a date.
we're just it's that murderer's wife.
She wasn't invited. You
No.
noticed that.
I wonder why.
Yeah. So, well, cool.
So yeah,
so
I
like
think I agree
one
with
big
you.
one.
Buttering up is probably what
Yeah.
happened.
One big one to actually do something. Second one just to hang out.
Yeah.
And get the ball rolling a little bit with everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Establish the reputation and the good influence.
That makes sense.
That's very strategic. Well done.
Yeah, we already did 6.
Worked really
Mordecai being paraded around, and then we have, I think 7 was the actual banquet one, where shows up and they're sitting at the table, and then I love how long this is. A foe and an enemy is this wicked Haman, like instead of like it's you.
It's you.
And
You are the man.
yeah, and then I love how the king just immediately, or at least in the text, it seems like he
Seems like-
immediately just goes from "You did it, hang him," like, immediately just
Get out of here.
get out of here. And
And once again, was it that quick? Who knows?
I don't know what the judicial system was like back then,
Right.
if they had a court or if the king was literally just. Nah,
I mean, I feel like if the
just
king says it,
axe the guy.
Yeah.
He seems so like, let's just go ahead and do it. That's kind of
Like
his
go with the flow
attitude
kinda
toward.
king.
Yeah, that's his attitude
Sounds
about
pretty
everything. Might as well just have done it then. But yeah, it is funny that the thing he built for Mordecai was the thing that killed him. Yep.
well, one thing. So starting in 7
Yeah.
of 7,
Seven,
so like
seven.
the king gets really mad when she reveals it, but then he
Goes to think about it.
Yeah, he goes. So, which leads me to think that he's not a king who
Too
acts
wishy-washy.
out of
Yeah.
that.
Impulse.
Okay.
Which, yeah, never mind. And so, yeah, he's not like, kill him right now. He like doesn't let his anger
There's still a little bit of a
explode.
process.
Yeah,
Decision.
but then he comes back and Haman's like laying on the couch like, Esther, why? And he's like, what the heck, man? You're even gonna, what does he say?
Is it?
Will you even assault the queen in my presence in my house?
He's like, what the
So
heck,
he
man?
goes to cool off, then he comes back with like a rational decision, and then he's just like, "What is this? You had one job." Go hang him. Like, go straight back to
I know.
the ticked
He's
off.
like,
Like,
nope.
okay, nah, you're out of here.
Yeah.